Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. I greet you in the greetings of Muslims. It means peace be upon you, and the grace of God and the mercy of God be on you. Why am I using that as an opening statement in a secular setting? It's because Islam is peace. It is in our greetings, it is in our understanding, and is part of our faith. And what happened is I'm called Average Mohamed because I'm just an average guy, really. I got 4 kids, a mortgage. I'm up to debt in my eyeballs like every other American, you know. And here's the thing, about 8 years ago, a group of Al-Qaeda called Al-Shabaab recruited kids out of my community. We got scared and we were worried because this has national security implications. These are people who left our democracy, our society, our age of plentifulness, access to healthcare, education, and opportunity, and decide they're going to join in with folks who want to destroy us and they want to kill us. About 5 years ago, ISIS came and they targeted my community and they recruited from my community. Now I was mad. I said, hold up, what can we do? I said, well, the government is using law enforcement to try to stop them. That's understandable, that's what governments do. The government is using war mechanisms to try to kill them in the field. That's understandable. If someone wants to kill you, killing them is an option. Then I said, what can a citizen do? So I sat down and I tried to say, what is it about this issue? So I went to go speak to kids around the Twin Cities and I said, okay, let me talk to you. What do you think? They say the average kid was getting about 4 postings on the social media from ISIS and Al-Qaeda. They were really targeting our youth here. A month, not a year, telling them to come join us and join our ideology. And they had these slick productions. I mean, ISIS was spending up to $3 million on just one production. $3 million, think about that. Because they knew if they reached the kids and if they could convince them, they have a soldier made. So I said, what can I do? So I started creating videos. Man, they sucked. I mean, the kids told me, Mohamed, don't bring this stuff to us. I mean, they were so cheesy, it looked so bad. So we went back to the drawing board. I'm a businessman. I try to put things together. That's what I do know. My goal is to put things together, either service or merchandise, and make money, a profit. That makes sense to me. That's my world. So I decided, what can I put together? So I did what every other American agency and corporation has done in America. Outsource. I outsourced to India. I reached out through an organization and I found out an Indian guy who was a cartoonist. And I told him, look, if I tell you this, if I give you a voiceover, can you create, based on the images I sent you, imagery in a cartoon format? He said, yes. So what I did is I was excited and I said, I'm going to do 5-minute story long cartoons, which are 5 minutes long. It cost a lot more, but they were 5 minutes long. I took it to the kids excited in the Twin Cities. Usually the kids I'm talking about is my family members before I went out. I have a big family, we're big family. I got 4 children. And I think I'm the one who's got the least children in my family. We're repopulating the world. So we sat down with them and the kids looked at it and they said, again, this Mohammed is too boring. After 1 minute, you lose our attention. So I went back to the drawing board. I said 60 seconds, that's what they want. A message simple enough for them to understand in 60 seconds. So I, in the belief that an idea can defeat an idea, that is our mantra. It stays there on my logo. It takes an idea to defeat an idea. And what I've noticed is my country has bombed so many nations to try to kill this idea, but you can't bomb out an idea. My country has tried surveillance to try curtail this idea. But then again, you can't surveillance an idea. An idea is like wind, it travels. It started in the hills of Afghanistan, now it's in 56 countries. It started with 15,000 people known co-Al-Qaeda agents at the beginning of September 11 warfare, to today to more than 300,000 combatants. In Syria, Where Ursula is working, there's 40,000 ISIS members alone, and ISIS is just one player. There are many more. How do they recruit? It is ideas. It is a value and a common sense thinking that they applied that got them recruits. And it is the same values that we will use to stop the recruitment. Now, here's the most sophisticated part of it. These are not spectacular professors or geniuses or people who spent years studying how to win hearts and minds. These were just regular people who picked up a camera, picked up a gun, and decided to shoot themselves shooting that gun and tried to make it look as if it's hip, like our video games, to do violence. But this time they're telling you do violence in the name of Islam. This is an abomination. I try to explain people to this, and I try to tell them because I've spoken in churches and synagogues, because I believe it's important to talk to other communities, because other communities are thinking the same thing too. What the hell is going on? We are scared. We don't know what to do. We want to believe in you. We want to support your community, but there's this issue. So I go out. I stood in front of an evangelical church and I stood in front of a cross and I said, look, if you can understand that the cross that I'm standing in front of is not the same as the symbol of the Ku Klux Klan, then you can understand Al-Qaeda and ISIS is not Islam. Very common sense. And it is up to us as Muslims, as citizens, to promote our ideas, because this whole country is built on an idea. We hold these truths, that all men are created equal, with inalienable rights and privileges. That's what started this whole revolution called America. It is an idea. Same way they have ideas which they're trying to put through the revolution, which is just like the Bolsheviks did 80 years ago, and what we did as Americans when we fought the Bolsheviks' ideology by creating Radio Free Europe and institutions which promoted our values. We the citizens have to do the same thing. You see, our government has lobbyists, and the lobbyists peddle the bombs and the surveillance state. Nobody is peddling peace. Nobody is saying dialogue. Nobody is saying let's win over the hearts before we start shooting them. Let's try. So we created Average Mohamed. Why Average Mohamed? Nothing spectacular about me. I'm not a religious scholar. I'm not an educated person. In fact, I'm a student at the University of Minnesota trying to get my degree, and I'm 42 years old. I'm right here, student. I'm a gopher, and I'm a proud one. Now, how do we compete? 60 seconds at a time, and I'll show you what I mean.
Average Mohammed, I have a question. Who am I? Am I black, African, Muslim, American, Arab, or Somali?
Why do you ask?
I feel mixed up sometimes. I don't know which identity is the right one.
Do you feel society forces you to choose a label?
Yes, and I feel alienated. Can I only have one identity?
Within you lives a diversity. Yes, you are a Muslim, but you're also black and an African. You're an American, Canadian, or British, or a citizen of any country. And depending on your family, you're also Somali or Arab. Within you lives many cultures. That makes you a treasure trove for mankind. You do not have to choose one label and reject the others. You are all of those things, and you are compassionate, cultured, and civic-minded. You are a child of humanity. You get to choose the labels you think best define you. You can embrace all you are.
Sometimes people say I can only be one.
Do not let the extremists confuse you. They say a Muslim has to reject all identities, except the one they try to define for you. But they do not know you. And that is not Islam. Islam is many things. All colors, all races, all nationalities. Islam accepts them all and tells us to live in harmony and peace. What does the Quran tell us? O mankind, we created you from a single pair of a male and a female and made you into nations and tribes that you may know each other. Quran chapter 49 verse 13. So who are you?
I think I have many identities, and that is okay.
Yes, it is. Do not despise others. Accept them. Be yourself. Remember, peace up, extremist thinking out. This message is brought to you by AverageMohammed.com. Identity. You see, my greatest resource of information to recruitment and recruitment tactics by ISIS and Al-Qaeda comes from the FBI. Thank you, FBI. Because when they bring these cases against people, they go through the court system. Because in our country, they don't the judge and jury. You will get judged by your peers. And one of the things they ask the youth who became Al-Qaeda and ISIS members is, how did they target you? You know what they said? They asked them, are you an American or a Muslim? As if there's difference between the two. And when the kid said, I'm a Muslim, they fed them these propaganda videos of Muslims dying, Muslims being killed, Muslims, and how they, ISIS and Al-Qaeda, are the only ones who are bringing solutions and defending Muslim life. And they tell them, at that time, come, join us, make hijrah, pilgrimage. Come join us in Iraq and Syria. Come kill Iraqis and Syrians on our behalf. And kids followed and they went, except for those who got saved. Now here's the sad part. The ones who went, 97% of them are dead. Buried in places with no names. The 3% that survived are the ones who were sitting in jail doing 15 to 30 years in jail because they got caught. That's a sad reality. But that's what we're facing in my community. So this message of identity, we said, look, if within yourself lives many identities, because I'm standing before you, I'm a Muslim, and I'm a proud Muslim. I'm a black man. I'm a Somali. I am an American. I am also a father of 4 beautiful children. I'm a husband to a demanding wife. You know? And also, I'm a son. I'm a businessman. I feel comfortable in profit and losses and ledgers and books and maintaining corporate guidelines. But then again, I'm a human being. So we tell our kids, accept the identity within you, because guess what? When you accept the diversity that exists within you, that child will accept the diversity that exists within the community. They will not look at color, race, gender, sexuality as something that makes you different. They just say that's what you are. And I go out and I speak to kids about this in schools. And since we're sitting in a room, I don't tell the Muslim kids, come here because I want to talk to you, because this issue is affecting you. I talk to all the kids. For the Hispanic kid in his neighborhood is gangs, and the African American kid. For the white kid is white supremacy. And we tell the white kid, we're the first people usually who come to them before the white supremacist comes and say, be proud of who you are, because your diversity is what makes us great. We love you as who you are. And we tell the Hispanic kid the same thing too. You know, do not let gangsters give you an identity. You are your own person. Find your way in this world. But that's not the way to go. The next example I'll give you.
Extremists say women should not be heard or seen. They say they are only good for bathing babies and cooking food. But extremists do not know the truth of women's rights in Islam.
Let me tell you about Aisha radiallahu anha. She was the wife of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Aisha radiallahu anha was a Muslim pioneer, a pillar of the faith. She was called Ummul Mu'mineen, a mother to all Muslim believers. Aisha radiallahu anha was a theologian who narrated more than 2,000 hadiths. She taught us about the Prophet Mohamed sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and also about the inheritance and the Hajj. Certainly, Aisha radiallahu anha was a great woman who did so much more than what the extremists would allow her to do. Today, the extremists say educating our sisters, mothers, and daughters is wrong. I tell you, they are the ones who are wrong. Do the extremists think they know better than the first Muslims? They're wrong. We can learn about science, technology, math, politics, and culture, and we can be great thinkers and leaders while also being good Muslims. We sisters, daughters, and mothers know the truth of what the Quran teaches us about women and Islam. We can follow the example of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam and Aisha radiallahu anha.
Remember, peace up, extremists taking out. This message is brought to you by AverageMohamed.com. AverageMohamed.com.
Simple. Women's rights is human rights. Human rights is women's rights. In Islam, men and women are equal, not equal. That's the scripture. Men and women are not equal. I am not going to reform my religion. That's not my job. I believe in Islam the way it is. But in opportunity, they're equal. In opportunity, a woman can become anything, do anything, learn anything, become anything. The extremists say no. They say you're only good for bathing babies and being in the kitchen. That's the role which they define women as. In Nigeria, Boko Haram kidnaps them straight out of the classroom, turn them to sex slaves, as if that is what a woman is built for. Girls mostly. In Mali, they kidnap young girls, shave their heads, put a suicide bombing belt on them, and tell them to go into the mosques after they drug them. I actually spoke to a Malian delegate last week who told me he stopped one of those girls carrying a suicide bomb. This is what we do see, and we're countering the ideology because the ideology is false, the ideology is wrong, and the ideology is weak, and we can win on that. It's not ideas that limit me, but resources. For the first time, my government gets it. They get it. They just released yesterday a paper called Counterterrorism National Mandate from the White House. And they say people like me are needed. We've been telling them for 15 years we're needed. But you know what happens in Washington? All good ideas go die there. That's how it is. So we're using local logic, and we say it properly, global problems, local solutions. It is not me or you or us Westerners who will save Muslims, but it will be Muslims themselves who will save their communities. It is Muslims who will go out and make the case anti-extremism. It is Muslims who will go into the mosque, into the scriptures, into the streets, and fight this ideology. And we'll use it using dialogue, talk, and means of dialogue. That is what Average Mohamed is about. Good news. They're hearing us now for the first time. The question is, are they willing to share resources? I told my government people, I sat down in Washington, and I talked to people through the Washington Institute. And I sat down with people from the CIA, and people from the Department of Defense, and people from the State Department, and people from the Department of Homeland Security and the FBI. And I told them, look, you spend a Tomahawk missile, which costs about $2 million to kill 3 individuals. Give Muslims that $2 million, and you will save yourself from getting 10,000 recruits. You're fighting hard. Fight smart. They're getting us. I was so proud of the national security establishment coming up to that understanding. It took them a while, 15 years, $5 trillion later. But they figured it out. Through war, we can't win, we can't bomb out this idea. Through surveillance, we cannot out-surveillance this idea. It travels faster than the wind. But through engagement, speaking to kids directly, and making our case for our democracy, making our case for our values, and using our logic, we promote 3 principles. The value of peace, because Islam is peace. That is our understanding. Majority Muslims believe in this. The second value we promote is democracy, because we want democracy in rights and liberties. We want the same liberties all across the world. We want freedom. People want freedom to choose their own leaders, not a theocracy, where some men decide that they speak for God and they're the only ones who speak for God, and no one else should be listened to. And the third part is anti-extremism. Simple. We are against racial extremism, we are against the extremism of gangsterism, and we are against the extremism of faith. They're all the same. They want to harm us, and we can do something about it. That is Average Mohamed. That is our mission. We've reached 1 million on social media. I spoke to 50,000 kids in the last 4 years. You know how much money I get paid for this? Nothing. Because I believe in God and country. Old school. But the joy I get is I'm promoting peace. That is payment enough. Thank you.
And then Mohamed, I wanted to thank you as well. So one question that you sort of answered, I think, at the end, and that is, so these are on YouTube, but how do people, or kids rather, how do you get the word out that they're there? How do they circulate? That's one question. And, you know, again, this is really just tremendous work that you're both doing. So I wanted to thank you both.
Reaching kids is very hard. The attention span is 30 seconds. Seriously, look, man, kids are very unique because they're innocent. When they're innocent, they have a criteria of judging everything. It's cool or it's not cool. If you've been a parent of a kid, you know you're not cool. You know? So how do you reach them? Keep it simple. Keep it succinct. You don't have to make it complicated. We're not here talking about the meaning of life. You know? We're not theologians here. We're not trying to convince you to become a good Muslim. I'm just trying to convince you to become a better citizen of the world. And there is some core values which we universally share as citizens of the world. You might not know this, but the idea of democracy has spread across the world. It is in retreat now, because we are in retreat. We are the ones who have become a banana republic. Look at the news today. What are they saying about America today? You see, they are the ones who used to look at us and say, that's what we want to become. But now they're saying, oh my God, these people can't even decide on anything. On anything. So we try to get away from the fray. I am apolitical. What that means is, look, I have my party. I'm a conservative, and I'm proud of that. But that has nothing to do with my message. My message of peace is universal Americanism. I just put up a post and I said, look, Breitbart wrote an article about me. Breitbart. And they endorsed me. That's as right-wing as you can get. And the left wings, they love me. Liberals love me. In fact, I get more money and more resources and more activities from liberals than I do from a conservative. Conservatives really don't like Muslims that much, you know? But what happens is we don't talk about politics. We talk about human values. Women's rights, suicide bombing, slavery. These are human values. We talk about freedom of speech when Charlie Hebdo got bombed and they started shooting them up. And we said, look, we believe in freedom of speech. Even if it means insulting my religion, because you know what? I want to reserve that same freedom of speech to go out there and tell people, stop insulting my prophet. We'll make the case for it. And people are decent and they will decide which way to go. In other words, we're saying, look, we need this freedom of speech. Don't kill these people. Defeat their ideas. Go about doing it logically. Write to papers, organize yourself, talk to people. You know? So what we're saying is human values. This is universal. It is not Islamic. It is just human.
Mohammed, I didn't think it was so simple what you did. I mean, that's that story with the kids playing basketball and then having a conversation, which was quite philosophical in a way for kids. It's not so simple, I think. So did you? How did you come up with this, with the basketball setting? And is it your kids you're testing it with, or kids in the community?
I write a script. Then I send it to my board. My board is a bunch of eclectic group of people. A law enforcement guy, Mohamed, who is an amazing grant writer and researcher and a thinker. Christine Xavier, who is amazing. Peter Trug, my sister Farhia Farah, and a bunch of other people. We send to them and they usually say, we know what you're trying to say, but this doesn't sound right. And we kind of go back and forth and we write the script. I also have friends at the USC, University of Southern California, Professor Errol Savas, and a guy called Justin Hines, who are just amazing people. And they also look at it and they kind of give their pointers and ideas to it. And then it comes back to me. And then because we use religious terms, I send it to 4 imams. 3 are men, 1 is a woman. Got to get that perspective. And they go through it and they say, this is not liberal, this is within Islam, this is within our jurisprudence, this is within the religion. And then once all that goes through, then I come sit down and I say, okay, now I have to find voice of artist. Is there a male voice? Is there a kid voice? Is there a woman's voice? Is there, you get the concept to do the voiceovers. And then after the voiceovers is done, then I go to Google World and I shop for the images. It should look like this at this part and storyboard. Because what happened is the guy in India doesn't speak perfect English and I don't speak perfect Indian. I speak very little of it from Bollywood movies, but but we talk. And he comes up and he basically puts it together and says, do you want it to look at this? And his storyboards be second by second, image by image. And we say, okay, that looks right. That looks right. And then we put it together. And I pay for it. 90% of what you see I paid out of my own pocket. 90%. Because if I ever told you that we're going to fight ISIS and Al-Qaeda using cartoons, you would laugh at me. Everybody would laugh at me. I would. You know, but she wouldn't. Thank you for that. But it is what it is, and we're effective. I beat the State Department. The State Department spent millions trying to achieve the same objective. I got global buy-in from Muslims, global buy-in from Muslims. I've been on 1,800 media sites, 1,800. I learned how to talk in sound bites. and it works. You know, people are reading about it, people are happy about it. Majority Muslims believe in this, and they say, finally, somebody's saying it. We've been hearing all this negativity because what happens in the media, the Muslim terrorist gets reported 357% more times than any other extremist in the world. This year alone, white racial extremists have killed more Americans than Muslim jihadists, but you would never know that. You would never know that. But what happens is then we try to break through that clutter. So we make it very simple. A kid in India can understand this. A kid in Djibouti can understand this. A kid in America, in Minnesota, can understand this. Because kids grew up with Seinfeld, what do you call it, Simpsons and Family Guy, and for God's sakes, you know, family, you know, what do you call it, South Park. You know, I don't get it, but they get it. So this is a simple medium. They understand it. They kind of figured it out, and they kind of like it. And they say, cool, that's all we're looking for. Cool, that's it. And that's an image in their mind. That's an idea in their mind. That's how we win. We get enough kids, we win this war within a generation. Because if they can't recruit, they can't propagate. And that's our agenda.